So time for a new chain and sprockets.
A lot of people say, oh, you know, it's just the chain that's buggered. If you put a new chain on the old sprockets, they will force the chain to start wearing prematurely. It's the pins that are worn inside the rollers. That's why the chain is longer, and that's why it's worn out.
Challenge, getting the front sprocket off.
Probably most common is this one here, with you just have a dirty great big nut on the counter shaft that holds the sprocket on, and then you've got a locking tab. You can see here that the nut is actually loose, which is not ideal. Because that nut's loose, the sprocket will be loose on the shaft, and the splines of the shaft will be working backwards and forwards. And if you left it loose for a few thousands miles, you may find that the splines of the countershaft actually shear off.
Yep.
It was tight when I put it on, I guarantee.
It was tight a couple of months ago.
So I'm just going to use the cold tool again to
straighten it.
You often have problems getting them off. You could use like a rattle gun, like I think they call them over here. You could also do it if you have a big breaker bar, maybe a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch breaker bar.
You know, I've also used the leave the chain on and just lock the back brake. Have you know, stand on the back brake. And,
exactly right. Yep, that gives it extra stopping power as well.
Now we were talking about some different ways of attaching the sprockets mounted to. Well, here's the sprocket off Pete's Africa Twin.
Yeah, this is
doesn't go on the same way. Well, still got a spline involved. You want to take that, Trent?
This is a typical Honda arrangement.
Hard to explain until you see it, but basically there's a sort of a little plate that goes here, screws on there, but when you put it on and the bolts are in, it's got teeth as well, but its teeth are offset by one tooth to these ones.
That's correct.
So
it's exactly right. Yeah, I was going to say there's a slot in the shaft that goes right the way around here. So as you slip the locking ring on, it allows you to turn the locking ring so that the holes line up here, and that stops the sprocket from coming on back off.
Until you actually see it, it's hard to explain.
Yeah, I'm going to see the outline of it here, where it was bolted onto the sprocket. Because the sprocket is turning this way, the chain is obviously it's trying to pull the chain around. The chain is coming up this edge, and that's what starts to cause the hook. I don't know if you can see. It's like a hook starting in those teeth. They're starting to lean forward a little bit. You would never ever put a new chain on a sprocket like that. That will destroy your new chain. So new sprocket, same as the old one. This has actually got 16 teeth. I think the standard is 17.
17, yeah.
So why have you changed to 16?
I think the bike is geared to do 220 kilometers an hour. I don't do that split speed very often. So it's lowered the gearing, which makes it more controllable off road. Definitely, you're not having to slip the clutch as much if you're on tight uphill stuff. And also, I actually find that when I'm cruising, which is normally between 120 and a little bit faster kilometers an hour, the bike is right in the right spot rev wise to just accelerate, and I change gear a lot less with the lower gearing. It's brilliant. It's so much nicer.
Hopefully there it goes.
Yep. Don't forget to put the locking washer on.
Locking washer, yeah.
Because you'd be heartbroken if you did your nut up nice and tight. And all right.
There's a couple more plates down.
There's a bit of a beer spat going on here. You haven't even got your overalls on. You're not entitled to drink a beer, so you should.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed in the house. I'm allowed in the garage at the moment.
Now I'm sure this has probably got a torque setting that is required, so it doesn't come loose. We're just going to do it up tight.
Have you just got it in gear?
It's in first gear at the moment. We may need to put the chain and stuff back on and give it an extra tweak later.
Right. That's pretty tight.
With this, Pete's put this 1 tooth smaller front sprocket on here. You could replace the rear sprocket. You could go 2 teeth bigger on the rear sprocket to make the same effect.
Yeah.
Obviously the rear sprocket is much more expensive than the front sprocket, so that's why people always do the front one. The problem on some bikes, if you do put a smaller front sprocket on, you can see the chain guide here just running along the top of the swing arm.
Right. Swing arm protector, some people might call
swing arm
it.
protector. Obviously with the sprocket is smaller, the chain is coming much closer, so it could wear through that chain guide and chain guard, swing arm protector, and start chewing into the swing arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to be very aware of if you do
Yeah.
decide to go down.
To mess with ratios.
Yeah.
So you're just going to undo the nuts on the rear of the sprocket, Pete. So Trent's just going to jump on. We've got this bike on the centre stand, put his foot on the brake,
Okay.
taking the axle out, however it works on your bike. What's this got, a big nut?
This is all part of the axle on the side, so the whole chain adjuster and everything is part of the axle.
Oh, really? So you don't need to, some bikes you might need a spanner on the other side while you...
Note the clever way KTM have done this. If you spin the axle round, obviously the chain adjuster is in here.
Yeah.
As the chain wears, you can knock it out, turn it round, put it back in, and you get much more chain adjustment out of it.
Oh, right.
Very clever of them.
So that comes out, the whole, that's a cush drive in there, which is a array of rubber dampers basically, and your sprocket is attached to
By the pliers.
the male part of the cush drive.
Probably find on a dirt bike that'll be fixed as part of the rim.
Yeah. Just while Pete's doing that, just the cush drive is to, what does it do?
It cushions the initial.
It's to wear out.
Yeah, basically it gives you extra money to spend on the back end of the bike because it wears out. To be honest, I don't really know. I guess it's just cushions the, especially with a high powered bike like that, it cushions the power force of the sprocket jerking on the hub of the bike.
I think it's more to stop shock being transferred from the back wheel to the transmission, isn't it? So a sudden shock at the back wheel doesn't smash up the transmission inside.
Usually you don't have it on a dirt bike, and I would suspect the dirt bike sort of bouncing over rocks and that sort of stuff would have a lot more shocks going through it than a road bike would.
But not as many cubes in the engine.
Yeah, I guess. If it
Smooths things out.
Yeah, it makes it smoother. I
We
guess.
could try it without it. We could just put some lumps of metal in there.
You do that in your bike.
Richard, you came unstuck with a cush driver.
Yes. A minor problem. I couldn't work out how to put it back. It took me nearly an hour, read the instruction book, just had it said put reinsert cush drive.
Yeah.
And that was somewhat unhelpful on the middle of the road in the middle of India. Having seen it done before by Peter and knowing that it took seconds, I couldn't work it out. An hour later, the help from a one-armed Indian beggar who was watching my attempts
Not joking.
and suggesting that I jump on it. I suddenly realised that it just sort of, it's not a Rubik's Cube, it does actually just go in.
Right.
Just have to twist it, match it the right way. That was it.
Yeah.
I felt very stupid, but I made a friend. So.
Not for the first time, I thought, Richard.
Okay, so new sprocket going on.
Oh, I should get that clean then.
Now go on. Get it. Just put it on. Come on. Got 15 minutes of tape left.
I'll turn the thing off.
So, new sprocket goes on the male
On the
part
cush
of
drive?
the cush drive unit.
Normally KTM use nuts that you're supposed to take off and throw away each time, but I replaced them with nylock nuts so that I could replace them when I'm out on the road if need be, or take them off if need be.
And use them again.
Yeah.
So that's all fitted up and ready to go. And what, you're just backing the adjusters off now, Pete?
Screwing them in, which I guess
Right.
is the equivalent of backing them off in Australia.
Yeah. So just tightening them up now because you've got the wheel to hang on to.
Yeah, I should have cleaned the hub up too.
So the new chain, all covered in sort of a white factory grease, is it?
Yeah.
Factory lubricant, like the coating on a newborn baby.
Indeed. So it's got all the way along here. It's quite good with the O-ring chain because they hold the shape quite well.
You're going to have to take it out of gear. Oh, you've got it out of gear, have you?
Yep.
Predetermined correct length, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not one that needs to be cut. Alright.
Nice new chain. Joining link.
Comes with O-rings.
The chain also had O-rings already stuck on each side of it. So
they've chucked a few spare ones in, basically, have they?
yeah. I mean, normally you wouldn't. The chain wouldn't have had the O-rings on it. So we've put the joining link in, and we're just going to put the side plate on here. Make sure your O-rings are still in the right position. And we're just going to put that on there. Now, if this was the type of joining link that had the clip, that side plate would just push straight on quite happily. This is the rivet-on type, so it's actually got to be it's an interference fit, and so it has to be forced on there. What I like to do to get it started is use a pair of Vise grips each side of the pin and just gently squeeze it on. Do the same to the other one.
But that's not job done, is it? We're just
no, so
getting
that's
it started.
You can see that's started now. That side plate's not going to fall off. So we're just going to adjust the vice grip a bit and squeeze it on a little bit further on each one. And you can see here the pin has come almost through the side plate.
But we need it protruding, we don't need it flush.
Exactly. What I've done previously is drilled holes, or drilled a small hole just in one jaw of the vice grip. Works fantastically. You just put the hole over where the pin is and carry on squeezing.
Right.
And the pin will go down into the hole of the vice grip. These are not my vice grips, so I don't want to destroy someone else's vice grips. So what we're going to do...
They're only Richard's.
Yeah. So instead what we'll do is use a nut to put over the pin.
Right, as a
and
spacer.
squeeze it.
Make sure you've got a suitably big enough nut that you're not going to end up pressing it on there. So you're just progressively tightening.
You can see the pins are just starting to protrude here a little bit.
Yep.
I've changed nuts here because the other one was a bit small. So I've just squeezed that on. You can see the pins there protruding through the side plate.
Yeah.
That's about enough. Obviously you don't want to squeeze it up too much, otherwise the O-rings will be they'll be crushed and they'll distort and they'll wear out quicker than they're meant to, and then your chain will wear out and you're back to square one again. You want to approximately sticking out the same amount as these ones here.
So let's burr them over. They're just feeding a bit of pipe through there. Well, actually a big piece of steel bar that we happen to have.
Yep.
Pete's going to hold that against the back of the link. So leaning hard on that, Pete.
Yep.
See it flattening off.
So just mushrooming them over, really, eh?
Where we've forced that side plate on, that's doing all the work.
Yep.
All we're doing is just burring the end of the pins over a little bit so that plate can't come off
They
again.
can't slip back out. So as far as tensioning the chain, just go with your factory documentation, your manual or whatever. It will usually nominate a point on the chain at which to measure the tension, a point along the swing arm perhaps, and how much free play there should actually be.
Yeah, I mean, you may even have a sticker on the swing arm just here telling you how much free play. Usually you'll just feel the chain like this. Don't really force it up there so it's really tight. Just as the chain starts to come firm is the amount of free play that you require. This feels about right for this bike. If it's a dirt bike, you're going to have more free play because there's a lot more suspension travel. If it's a road bike, then it's going to have a lot less because there's only a small amount of suspension travel.
Alright, cool. We'll see you next time on
Garage Night.
How's that, Pete?
Yeah, it's good. Well done, Pete.
Yeah.